We're back to Johann Sebastian Bach, to a Prelude and Fugue that, of course, everybody knows, but do they? Right? So let's start by discussing the Prelude. I'll just put a little bit of it. Everybody knows this guy. And so on and so forth. So, what do I hate the most when I hear this performed? Right? Or worse yet. All the fun is gone. Everything is gone. So instead, how do we think about this piece to not allow it to become a Hanon exercise? So I'm thinking that there are levels of ideas that we can come up with. Let's start with the micro level first. So everything here is in these groups of 4, connected by beams, right? That's just how we write music so that we don't get lost in the measure. But that's not how music actually goes. It doesn't go 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. I mean, it can, but it doesn't in this case. Because we know that here, every phrase begins on the second 16th note. It says 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1. So once we begin to divide the music into these groupings that start on the second 16th note, we start making decisions. So is our grouping really 4 notes? Or is it maybe 8 notes? Ooh, if we think of it like that, look at what just happened. It went up in this beautiful way. Next grouping. So it's a little bit less up. How fascinating. Not up at all. And it ends so nicely. And as you go through the piece, perhaps not every grouping is 8 notes. Perhaps some are 4, perhaps some are 12. I don't know. It depends on how you see the thing. So once you've done the micro, and I usually like to start, from the micro and go to the macro, but some people think the other way. So on the macro level, you must divide pieces like that into sections or phrases according probably to the harmony. Right? And there's more than one way that each person might decide how to divide it, but it is unbearable to hear the whole thing as a stream of 16 notes. So we can think even more options are possible. So articulation in the right hand. There are so many options. Of course, Bach says nothing, but it can be with a beautiful overlapped legato. How lovely. Harpsichordists work so hard on creating a legato like that. So that's one option. What about? Oh, how beautiful. All of these are options. And perhaps you don't have to keep to the same articulation to the whole piece either, because, boring. And then we can also consider the left hand. There are so many options in the left hand. For example, I sort of decided in the first line that some notes are more important than others. Cool. Maybe you don't like that. Freedom, right? You can do whatever you like, but it makes sense to analyze the left hand, because in some sections everything changes all the time. In other sections that are marked, on the 3rd and 4th systems, we've got an ostinato going, or a pedal point going, or something like that. It must mean something different, right? Perhaps you might want to change articulation. And as for articulation, do we have maybe, or is it more like? Right? It depends what you decided in the right hand. The important thing that the articulation cannot be random. You have to think it through. You have to give it a color and an attitude. Right? The color shouldn't be gray. Right? Some other color. And now, things get even more fascinating with the famous fugue. rhythms in the beginning. So why do I do that? Because it's clearly not written. You have to remember that in the Baroque period, the concept of a double dot doesn't exist because it doesn't need to, because it is understood that the value of the dot is up to the performer. So a dot means make the note longer. How much longer? It depends. There are many Bach Gs which are written as dotted rhythms, but are actually played as triplets. So there, the dot is shorter. In a piece like this, which is a French overture, the dotted note is far, far longer. So French overture, of course, and I tried to provide a beautiful picture of that. Opera was born in Italy, but then it moved right away to the royal court in France. So you have to imagine yourself in Versailles. Operas can be done, and people are making a lot of noise. They're busy doing their courtier things. And then the king comes in, and the violins go ta-dam, 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 and everybody knows this is the moment to sit down, be quiet, and let the opera really begin. So French overture. If I hear a straight dotted rhythm in performance, I'm not going to penalize the student, but historically informed performance practice will tell you that you must overdot. Now, did you notice that I didn't overdot all of the dotted notes? So this business, this sounds stupid if you overdot it. I mean, possible, but I don't like it. As I said, the value of the dot is whatever the performer wants it to be. The important thing here is that we're creating one character for this subject and completely different character for everything else.